This is a video response to a couple videos by AntiCitizenX's in which he argues for pragmatism. The links to these videos are in the description. There are several issues with what you are saying. Honestly, this is going to be difficult to unpack, and I may require further input to be sure that I correctly examined what you believe. The only thing which can be considered true, according to you, is that which can be taken to have a practical effect on your life. This is only taken to be the case because of some sort of philosophical skepticism you hold to, where we are not aware of the actual reality of external things. Basically, he says, yeah, we could be a brain in the vat, but science works. In other words, whether the external reality actually conforms to our representations of it or not is irrelevant, because what we represent has a clear effect on our lives. There's a degree of truth to this proposition. Clearly, we are more willing to act on things which come with the least amount of risk. However, the position fails to grasp the full implications of the skepticism on which it rests. If you recall the video on what you call truthiness, the epistemologies were said to be based on pure propositions, which can be only, it cannot be in any way said to be known. This is absolute skepticism. In fact, you even went so far as to say that any other position, such as one based upon biblical literalism, could be said to be just as true as yours, except by the pragmatic principle. Thus, when you talk about the events in the external world resulting in the practical, you are absolutely assuming the external world as you assume you yourself exist to have the practical relationship to the external world. You are even assuming that an internal world of your perception exists. Of course, I'm not saying that we can doubt these things, but you have positioned us in this pseudo-skepticism, which casts doubt on everything as merely propositions, while failing to critique the very foundations of the method on which you determine what is pragmatic. If we cannot say the internal world of our perceptions are real in any sense, we cannot use them to determine what is pragmatic. However, if you were to say that we can know some things are real in some sense, such as your own existence, the internal world of perceptions, and that which we can expect regularity in the world, then we are on the way to a position not of pure propositions, but of self-evident principles. This must be what you are saying, because you do not really doubt that there is something true about what you perceive. You would not doubt that you perceive the color blue, for example. What you're doubting is that you can know the ultimate reality of what you perceive. Are these perceptions thoughts, dreams, ideas, material, or something else? We must agree that these perceptions are real in themselves, as really being perceptions, as is self-evident to us. But then if we ask if they represent things outside of us, we are recognizing that our senses do indeed give us something outside of us. Let's be real. We all know that we receive data from our senses, which are acted on by something outside of us. Otherwise, we would be limited to our mere perceptions, which clearly is not the case, since we are trying to figure out what is the real thing out there. And that's the whole basis of your skepticism. But that there is something outside of us is self-evident. Even Berkeley's idealism held that there are things apart from us, though being ideas of God. So this is not a subject of debate here, but through this, We know your idea that we must ultimately fall to propositions is false. Ultimately, even pragmatism is based upon that which corresponds to our perceptions, which we know corresponds to something outside of us via the causal relations to our senses. Thus, although we haven't shown the ultimate reality of things in this treatment, we do know that some things are out there which we know to be true as self-evident to us. This ultimately defeats AntiCitizenX's pragmatism because, firstly, if we are to admit there are things which are self-evident, then these cannot be said to be verifiable. And secondly, we can determine among the self-evident principles that there is an absolutely first principle. This principle cannot be said to be something purely understood in pragmatic, empirical, or verifiable terms. We can first understand this as the law of identity, which has its first principle, being. I need not go any further than this. If we understand knowledge as being based on self-evident principles, then we can indeed argue that the creationists, while holding to the Bible as a presupposition for knowledge, is not being just as valid as we are, because the Bible is not a first principle. It is not self-evident. There is also no need to limit our knowledge to pragmatism, which fails to even avoid the self-evident knowledge anyway. We are free to explore deeper questions, such as whether there is intelligent life on other planets, or whether God exists, which we cannot directly experience. But we must take from the things in our world and abstract from that what is true. While we may not be certain of the judgments we make about the data we receive, we may be deceived that we are seeing a man while we are really seeing a tree, we still use our self-evident principles to come to the best conclusion we can. No one, of course, is claiming that there is no way a man could be wrong about our judgments. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't believe them. We should believe that which is most reasonable, not only that which is most practical. Thanks for watching.